A closer look at Chapter 97 of Jin Ping Mei, looking for Pang Chunmai from her mother's family. The book is called Jin Ping Mei, so naturally the protagonist in the second half should be Chunmai. However, maybe the author had too many ideas, or maybe the author was tired of writing and frustrated. So when Chunmai appeared, he couldn't find anything outstanding. It was as if he wanted her to feel proud, and also as if he wanted her to repay his kindness and revenge. The author loves her, but is a bit clumsy, in fact. No wonder, because the role of Chunmai is awkward. The identity is embarrassing, the behavior is embarrassing, and the mentality is even more embarrassing. This time, take in Chen Jingjing and give him a wife. Marrying a wife doesn't count. You have to find the best one. My mother is not like my mother. My elder sister is not like my elder sister. I am neither a wife nor a concubine. If there was a list of the greatest mistresses in the world, Chunmai would probably be on the list. You have to look for someone greater than her in strange stories from a Chinese studio. But those are foxes and ghosts and have nothing to do with people. Yes, that's the biggest problem. The character design of Chunmai is very strange because according to normal logic, you can't find the basis of her behavior. Even Chen Jingjing doesn't understand. Sister, you have no ambition. If you think about this thief and whore, we will bring all our sisters to death. They were separated, and sixth sister was killed. For eternity and thousands of years, it would be better not to meet each other inside or outside the house, but to be kind to him instead. If it can be said that Zhang Yuhan and Ziren support Bao Yu and his wife in the lost manuscript of A Dream of Red Mansions, it can be said that it has a beginning and an end. Then what Pang Chunmai did is truly repaying evil with kindness. She was not an expelled maid. She was clearly the married daughter of Ximen King and Pan Jinlian. Eat carrots and worry less. Pang Chunmai is worried. That is my aunt's heart. Has she been wed? No. Because there is a hole in Chunmai's heart that cannot be filled. The name of this hole is belonging. Chunmai is a typical young lady with the body of a maid. I don't know where I came from. I don't know where I'm going. The biggest benefactor in her life is Pan Jinlian. Pan Jinlian used all his strength to pamper her and protect her. Pan Jinlian is her master and her sister. She is her mother and her mentor. Slowly, her life, which was originally thin as paper, nourished her heart to be as high as the sky. However, when she achieved success, she was at a loss. She is smart but lacks basic knowledge. She is self-respecting and self-reliant, but she doesn't know how to be proactive. She learned what Pan Jinlian could teach her, and what Pan Jinlian couldn't teach her, she also learned. But what to do next? She didn't know. In short, she figured out how a woman should live, how a person should live, but she didn't know. She couldn't find direction or support. Therefore, all she can do is imitate and copy, in her opinion. As long as these acquaintances are still there, herself is still there. She took care of Wu Yunyang and took in Chen Jingjing. She worked hard to maintain an illusory home feeling. This is her natal family. This is where her soul belongs. Compared with the 22-year-old unmarried daughter after Earl Ying's death, Chunmai should be very proud. I can even vaguely see the author's sneer on Chunmai's face. A closer look at Chapter 98 of Jin Ping Mei. I heard that love comes back. Chen Jingji is a scumbag and incompetent person, but his luck is not bad. In poverty and embarrassment, he served Hanako sesame seed cakes in a cold shop and met his father's old friend, the layman Xing'an. When he got into trouble as a Taoist priest and a prostitute, he was dragged to the garrison house and slapped, and was recognized by Chunmai. Chunmai took care of Sun Zui and refused to let her go. He entered the house immediately. He was almost beaten to death by young Daling while living on the street, and was rescued by the local leader Hu Liner. It's probably like what Yi Tao Chuo said when they met each other. I'll be favored by many Yin people in my life. Young people with tender looks are both a disadvantage and a blessing. Now he has become Uncle Chen of the garrison mansion. Chunmai, the head of the family, was favored and had no other relatives. Zhou Xiaobai was not stingy with his brother-in-law. He was given the name Jingji in the military family and was promoted to the position of staff officer. He was given rice and 2 stones a month and a crown and body. From a civilian to an official, Chen Jingji completed the transformation of his status. With his beloved wife by his side and a proud body, he was at the pinnacle of his life. In addition, Zhou Xiaobai also ordered him to use some capital to do business for him. If you are rich and powerful, it is not difficult to find a way to do business. Rich in the mountains, Chen Jingji has distant relatives, and as he becomes prosperous, he has no shortage of new and old friends. No, in a blink of an eye, he meets his second brother Lu Bingyi, on the street, and brings news about his old enemy Yang Guangyan. Yang Guangyan kidnapped your goods, and now he hired a man named Zi as a clerk. He opened a big hotel in Matu, Linqing, and lent money to prostitutes from all over the place, so as not to get a lot of interest. He wears good clothes every day, eats good meat, rides a donkey, goes for a walk every 3 to 5 days, settles accounts and collects money, and ignores old friends. His brother runs a casino at home, fights cocks and raises dogs, but no one dares mess with him. Yang Guangyan, who appeared in Chapter 88, was Iron Nail Yang Erlang. He added some details to Chen Jingji about Pan Jinlian's murder and Ying'er's whereabouts. When he appeared in Chapter 92, he was still Iron Nail, but he was already called Yang Daling, probably because his bully brother Yang Erfeng was also called Erlang. Chen Jingji's money became Yang Daling's first pot of gold. Now that he was so majestic and unhappy, old friends like Lu Bingyi were naturally jealous and resentful. Seeing that Chen Jingji is well now, he has to make plans to fan the flames. Taking advantage of the defensive situation, Chen Jingji filed a complaint and ordered He Yangshu and Zhang Mo to immediately go down the river and take brothers Yang Guangyan and Yang Erfeng to the Yamen. After being beaten and imprisoned for several days, the two rogue brothers who had frightened Chen Jingji to such an extent that he had no life left but money and water, vomited out all their property. Lynching restaurant changed owners in an instant. Power is so simple, but it is a pity that it can be easily eliminated. Lu Bingyi became the supervisor, and Fatty Zi was the shopkeeper on the counter. He said, "I will ride on the head for 3 to 5 days, and I will accompany you as a little jinger to settle the accounts down the river." There was no need to wait at the banquet and to accompany him. A winner in life, who has money and leisure, can't help but feel restless in the quietest moments, and the sea of love can actually ripple. Chen Jingji ushered in the last love in his life, which was also the last love in Jin Ping Mei. In the festive season of February and March, the spring was bright, and the scenery was fragrant. He met Sister Han Ai, the former uncle of the Ximen family, is now the popular uncle of the Zhou family. The 15-year-old girl who used to be dark clouds over her mustache, pink and white on her cheeks, with a delicate and beautiful attitude, and delicate and fragrant skin has also become a girl who wears makeup and powder, a young woman who is fair and beautiful. The routine of meeting is a bit familiar. When Jingji saw that the little woman could talk, he just looked at him up and down. The woman looked sideways at Jingji with her starry eyes, with two emotions and 4 eyes, unable to determine her feelings. The original line of the poem is 2 emotions and 4 eyes. Can't calm down thinking back to when Ximen King and Pan Jinlian first met. It's not that anger has already penetrated into the Java kingdom and turned into a smiling face. Ximen King and Li Ping'er met across from each other today. They saw that he was very fair, with a short body, a melon-seed face, and thin eyebrows. Without realizing that his soul was flying to the sky, he hurried forward and bowed deeply. May the woman return the favor. Just as the fairy Jinghuan said, the meeting in Wushan, the joy of clouds and rain, are all caused by being pleased with his appearance and falling in love with him again. Pan Jinlian and Ximen King and Li Ping'er, Chen Jingji and Pan Jinlian. And aren't most of the men and women in the world of mortals pleasing to the eye? Don't they have true feelings? Yes, Li Ping'er's thoughts before his death, Ximen King's grief, and Chen Jingji's anxious rush from Tokyo to King. Are they just desires? Those long, sweet, and sad waits, those great joys after being lost and found, who can say that they have never had true love? In the end, so what? Is it ever worth the fresh and warm body of the lonely years? Is it ever worth the hatred accumulated in the long night? The love in Jin Ping Mei is never the other side of human redemption. It is a part of ordinary life, accompanied by our weakness and fear, accompanied by our desire and loneliness, both warming and hurting each other. Not so poetic, but still real and moving. The emotional path of Chen Jingji and Han Iji is just a poor reproduction of these love paths. The eyes met, the hearts were moved, the pleasure on the mat satisfied the carnal desires, and the exchange of heartfelt conversations led to spiritual connection. Chen Jingji was afraid of being talked about. After lunch at the restaurant, he wandered on the street again and met Jin Zongming, his former senior brother from Yangon Miao. Whose eyes and ears is he worried about? His wife, Chen Mai, or someone else from the garrison? In short, he left for 7 or 8 days before being kept by his wife. Sister Hanai waited impatiently, just like Jin Lian, who used to lean against the door to wait for her lover. And like Li Pinger, who waited impatiently for news from Ximen Mansion. Sister Hanai can wait, but her parents cannot. The food, clothing, and expenses of a family of 3 all depended on Wang Liuer's mother and daughter's flesh and blood business. No, Chen Sanner hooked up a Huzhou silk cotton seller, He Guanren, for him. He Guanren is also an old friend. At that time, Simon King was connected by Count Ying, bought his silk thread, opened a woolen yarn shop, and hired a man named Han Daoguo, which led to the story of the Han family. Now, Wang Liuer has hooked up with He Guanren, and the two are having a heated fight. Sister Hanai refuses to accept the guest and Mrs. Chen Jingji. After all, I stayed at Sai Qian's house in the capital. Sister Hanai's love letter was sweet and spicy. You are at home. You have a lovely wife and love. How can you be willing to miss me? It's like spitting out the core of a fruit. The Cambodian stickers, sachets and a strand of green hair are both routine and sweet. Chen Jingji's reply was mediocre in literary talent, but Sister Hanai and her daughter, who were waiting for the reply, were busy rejoicing and didn't know anything else. That year, Sister Ai and Chen Jingji were both 26. They were young and the years were long. In the spring of that year, they exchanged love letters and heard the footsteps of love. A closer look at chapter 99 of Jin Ping Mei, the death you will eventually face. This time, the book has been written for 99 chapters. The story is coming to an end, and the protagonists in the book will also have their own destinations. In this episode, murderous intent is everywhere, human lives are scattered, and it is thrilling to watch. It is no exaggeration to describe this death story as tragic. Chen Jingji has always been liked by women, including Xiao Pan Chen Mai. Now, Wang Liuer's daughter Han Iji has fallen in love with Chen Jingji for no reason and passionately. It almost makes me, the reader, wonder Chen Jingji is compared with his father-in-law Ximen King. IQ and ability have been crushed. Why can women be so prosperous? This man, if you look closely at his life trajectory, there is almost nothing worthy of discussion except for his relationship with women. A brief summary of his life. He met countless noble people in his life, and saved them from fire and water every time, but failed again and again. He lost all his money by going back and forth, gambling and prostitution, and interpreting the 4 words, if you don't do it, you will die. To the extreme, after meeting Chen Mai this time, Chen Jingji has simply reached the peak of his life, and even gives people the illusion that this guy is so lucky. His status as the brother-in-law of the defense mansion can guarantee him a lifetime of prosperity and wealth. How many people can have such a leisurely and happy life? But how could the author arrange it this way? He wants us to experience a different ending in life. Chen Jingji was destined to have an unstructured life. If the death of Ximen King can still make readers feel a bit tragic and sad, then the death of Chen Jingji is simply a very ironic joke. When he was in poverty before time and time again, I have been trying to survive, but this time I have a chance to win. When I feel that I can completely control the fate of others, I just play myself to death. Maybe he can't die at all, but he happened to meet his nemesis, Liuer, Zhang Sheng's brother-in-law in the garrison. After Liuer had a quarrel with Wang Liuer in the tavern, the two people's quarrel was almost evenly matched. Wang Liuer said, "Where did you come from? A bachelor. I don't have any relatives. You can do it, you came to bully me." What are you going to do with my life?" He knocked him down and started crying. Liu scolded, "I kicked the whore's intestines into pieces, and you still don't know who I am." The reason why Liu is so domineering and bullying others to collect protection money is because of Zhang Sheng from the garrison. Why does Wang Liu dare to talk back and quarrel like this? Of course, it's also because I have a nobleman like Chen Jingji in my store. He's the brother-in-law of the garrison mansion. Why should I be afraid of you? Therefore, when reading Jin Ping Mei, you can always read the human feelings and sophistication between the lines, which can make people smile and feel chilly. This has been the state of the world since ancient times. This Wang Liu cried out to Chen Jingji. There came a killer and a troublemaker, nicknamed Liu, a landless tiger. He was staying at Sajian. He said he was the brother-in-law of Zhang Yahu, who was in charge of our house. He was looking for a hotel and had nothing to do. He kicked and beat me and scolded me. He also beat all the household wine vessels to pieces. When Chen Jingji heard this, all he could think about was the embarrassing incident in which he was beaten when he visited prostitutes. So, he was very annoyed and even thought, when I slowly find some flaws in Zhang Sheng's guy, I can also teach him. My sister told the master and ruined his life. As a side note, if it were his father-in-law Simon King, he would never handle the matter like this. I think he would just win him over and use it for his own purposes, and handle it in such a way that no one knows what happened. This is the way people with wealth and status do things. But how could Chen Jingji have such a mind? All he thought about was informing and killing people. As a result, he was overheard by Zhang Sheng while informing, and the brutal killing began. Zhang Sheng kept doing it. If you teach him to plot against me now, why don't I plot against him first? He walked to the front room, took out a wrist-breaking steel knife, and sharpened it on the stone. Holding the knife, he ran straight to the study. Jing Jiguan was naked and had no place to hide, only hugging the quilt. Pulled him aside and stabbed him with a knife. Prick the weak spot and blood will flow out. Seeing him struggling, Zhang Sheng stabbed him again and hit his chest, unable to move. While plucking the hair, he cut off his head. Poor Jingji was younger than 39 and died an unexpected death. Chen Jingji died under the knife in such an embarrassing and helpless manner. I always feel that the author of Jin Ping Mei is mentally strong and has no psychological barriers at all when writing about death, making it almost unbearable to read. Chen Mai, who was with Chen Jingji, was lucky enough to escape death this time. It seems that the author still has the halo of the protagonist regarding Chen Mei's death, and will leave it to be revealed at the end. The deaths of small figures like Zhang Sheng and Liu were like the death of ants. And the words were simple and sparse. Tongzong previously Zhou Defei was furious. He sat in the hall and raised Zhang Sheng. He didn't care about the merit and ordered his troops to do so. Prison, 5 sticks are exchanged, 100 sticks are beaten, and he is beaten to death immediately. Then he immediately sent a flag sign and a quick hand, and went to the river to catch Liu, the tiger sitting on the ground, and came forward to unlock it. When Sun Sui saw that Liu had been taken, she was afraid of taking him, so she went to the room and hanged herself to death. The flag sign was taken to Liu's house, and the commander also ordered him to be beaten with 100 sticks, and he was beaten to death on the same day. How does it read? One was beaten to death immediately, and the other was beaten to death on the same day. There was no description of the mood of the parties involved at all, like cutting off a handful of weeds and squeezing a small insect to death. The most heartbreaking thing was the little girl in the middle. Descendant Sui, if I remember correctly, this is the third woman to hang herself in the Plum and the Golden Ping. The first one is Song Huilian, who is somewhat staunch. The second one is Sister Ximen, who is somewhat innocent. And the death of Sun Sui was gently mixed between the two men who were beaten to death. Such a gentle line. I'm afraid I'll take him, go to the room, and hang himself to death. This weak woman, who had been unable to control her own destiny throughout her life, died in exchange for her last bit of dignity. I think her last thought was, at least, she can make her own decisions when she dies. I have always felt that the portrayal of the deaths of small people in Jin Ping Mei is quite enlightening. The cruel, quiet, cold and calm death of these ordinary people makes people cry, sad, and reminds them of the irresistibility of fate. Death also covers up the turbulent noise of desire and disputes to a certain extent, making everything temporarily calm. This worldly drama is about to come to an end. Please continue to wait and see. A closer look at the final chapter of Jin Ping Mei. Dust returns to dust. Dust returns to dust. And Rentu will still eat dust in his next life. As the first full-length novel in Chinese history to be independently created by an individual, The Plum and the Golden Lotus inadvertently set many paradigms for its successors, the most important of which was its structure. For example, a fortune teller predicts the fate of a character. For example, a god makes the final decision about a character. From a writing perspective, this approach can artificially construct a logical chain to prevent the main line from deviating. For readers, it gives them expectations, a sense of security, and no sense of karma, determine values, and highlight political correctness. In short, with one destiny, to luck and 3 feng shui, no matter how hard one tries, he cannot resist the will of God. The book reaches 100 chapters, the finale. Those who are alive are rich and poor, but those who deserve to be damned are already dead. The book needs to be finished. People need to close their heads, and it's time for the gods to appear. The immortal in Jin Ping Mei is an eminent monk named Pujing. In Buddhism, quiet means meditation. In Taoism, quiet means meditation. Switching to Confucianism, there is a famous saying in the Great Learning, after knowing and stopping, one can have concentration. After concentration, one can become still. After being still, one can be at peace. After being at peace, one can then think about it. After thinking about it, one can gain. Jin Ping Mei was probably written during the Wanli period of the Ming Dynasty, when the 3 religions basically returned to the mainstream, so quiet can roughly be understood as centered. But what Pujing said was not mysterious at all. She did not talk about peace of mind at all, but about settling grudges and resolving grievances. You and other living beings are repaying each other's grievances and are unwilling to be liberated. When will it be possible? You should listen to my words carefully and follow the directions to help you. There is no great truth, no reason to convince people. And they don't even talk about retribution. Just one word, stop making trouble. A few lifetimes of hatred, life and death. Just such a frivolous sentence. What's the use? Whose grievances can be resolved and whose injustice can be vindicated? Reason, if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. In terms of processing, you have to comfort the fragile hearts of readers, right? Unfortunately, not at all. Pan Jinlian went to the Li family in Tokyo to provide child care for girls. No punishment, normal reincarnation. Li Pinger went to Tokyo, and Conductor Yuan asked him to give birth to a daughter. From a commoner to an official lady. This is an upgrade. Chen Mai went to Tokyo to marry the Kong family as a daughter. From being humble to being good is also an upgrade. Ximeng King is going to Tokyo to give birth to Shen Tong, the second son of a wealthy family, Shen Yu. Specifically expressed as the second son, it is regarded as a replacement, with a slight punishment. Li Pinger and Chen Mai didn't do much evil and could just be promoted. How come Ximeng King and Pan Jinlian can do so well in their next life? Let's look at the most unlucky one, Sun Zui, who is currently living as a daughter of the poor Yao family outside Tokyo. I couldn't stay in the city, I had to go to the countryside, and I made it a point to be a poor person. Without land reform, she will still be miserable in her next life. Of course, according to Buddhism, suicide is a serious crime, but no matter how serious the crime is, it is yourself who is killed. Ximeng King and Pan Jinlian have several lives in their hands, which is a serious crime. Compare the two, and you will see the praise and blame. Why do you favor one over the other? The reason is very simple, because the book Jin Ping Mei does not believe in karma at all. From the author's point of view, he even despises the political correctness of what goes round comes round. Therefore, there is no need to worry about the shocking bug of whether Brother Xiao is Ximeng King's reincarnation. And there is no need to read the author's last hypocritical emotion. These are all said casually, let alone serious. He does not even have perfunctory sincerity. He doesn't care at all. If morality and talent are measured on the scale of success, morality can be completely ignored. Throughout the book, we see officialdom and shopping malls. We see the colorful streets and willow alleys and the fights at home. Regardless of gender, regardless of status, being able to survive and succeed depends on the lowest sense of morality and the highest level of aggression. The world depicted in Jin Ping Mei is a human meat grinder. Lu Shun commented on the plum in the golden vase and said, "The author is very sincere and insightful about the world. Only when you have a sense of the world can you lose all illusions, become cold-blooded. Detach yourself from all subjective emotions, return to reason, and dare to face this real cruelty." Jin Ping Mei is black. Without light, not even gods can do anything about it.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.